Ladies and gentlemen, you can just do things. You
Let's
can.
go. You
You
can.
can just do things. And Jay Yang is the ultimate example of this. Permissionless philosophy to just get out there in the world and start going for it. Permissionless action. Cold email Beehiiv CEO Tyler Dink at 16 began working with Noah Kagan at 17, dropped out of college to get on Alex and Layla Hormozi's media team. Thereafter, now bestseller, about to be bestseller again. We must welcome inside of the show the one and only Jay Yang. Father, if you can just do things, get in here, Jay.
Let's go.
Get inside this show.
Go. With the Beehiiv hat. Ooh.
What's going on, guys?
Jay, hey man, welcome to the show. Appreciate you making the time to join us, brother.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely, man. Jay, I think that, brother, you've got a resume that most people like me who are on the verge of 40 and beyond would be very glad to have. But bro, you're out there like living the embodiment of your book and just doing things on the interwebs. Man, so young, so now in the moment. Brother, tell me about doing some of these incredible things and getting going in your career. It's crazy to me that you have begun operating like this with motion at the age of 16 and beyond. I mean, give me some background on you.
Yeah, of course. Well, it feels kind of surreal to kind of be in this place because only a few short years I was that 15-year-old kid who was watching shows just like this from the outside and being like,
Crazy.
I want to be on the inside. And I spent most of my career trying to figure out how to get into these rooms with these rich and powerful people. And I developed a framework that I've used for my career that's helped me kind of work with the names that you just mentioned. And so a lot of the approach comes down to this number one question I like to ask people, which is how can you make this a no-brainer for the other person? How can
Mm.
you reduce the friction it takes for the other person to say yes? And so for the Beehive example, I wanted to intern with Tyler Denk, and I knew that the number one friction point would be, okay, this kid seems cool, but like, what do we do with him? And so I sent a 10-slide pitch deck to Tyler saying, hey, here are three project ideas that I'll help you guys do over the summer. Pick one and I'll do it for free. And that helped me land the internship. And
Let's
so I've been using
go.
this pitch deck strategy for the rest of my career.
That
I
is
mean, okay,
awesome.
okay. There's a lot there. Jay, you have to like break down where this like crazy high agency framework that you have been like endowed with has come from. Because I would say the normal person would not think like, okay, I'm going to make a 20-page pitch deck and then send it to this person. You are like incredibly high agency. Where did this come from?
Man, I wish I could tell you, but I think like just growing up, even from an early age, I just had this I was overblessed with a lot of drive and ambition.
Mm.
And so I think the one thing that helped unlock this is I was listening to a podcast that no longer exists, but it was called Backstage Careers by Jeremy Merry. And he would interview people who are working behind the scenes with these top entrepreneurs and creators. And so I got to like see what other people ahead of me were doing. And then I said, okay, let's just see if I can apply those strategies, but to my own career. And so that's how the pitch deck strategy was really born.
this is this is so smart to me because like if I got an email like that, I would say like who does this? Like
Yeah,
who
who
like
is this kid?
like who is this guy? Like I want to talk to this guy. Like let's make this happen. Like it really stands out. And so you did the thing with Beehive.
Yeah.
I bet that went very winsomely. And then the same kind of thing happened with Noah Kagan over at AppSumo, I guess,
Yeah.
or Sumo, whatever he was calling it at the time. And then hey, you're like in college somewhere, and then it's just, I gotta leave that. I gotta leave that and join up with the Hermosis. I mean, like this has led to like incredible experiences on. I mean, it's led to incredible experiences for you, Jay. What did you take away from like working with Noah, working with the Hermosis? I think just about everybody on the internet would love to do that.
Gosh, yeah, I learned so many things. I think what I've tried to do in my career, I had a mentor tell me early on, like, um, skills pay the bills. And so I've always tried to optimize for learning before earning. And
Mm.
so at each stage of my career, I could have like after Beehiiv, I could have started a newsletter agency. After No, I could have started a marketing agency and went all in. But what I tried to do was trade my current skill set for better skill sets. And so I would basically take the skills I learned at Beehiiv and let's go learn marketing with Noah. Take the marketing skill that I learned with Noah and let's go learn business and scaling with Alex and Layla. And so each skill set was like trading for the next one. And I think that was the biggest lesson I learned from them is they're all relentless learners. Even at the top of their game, they're constantly studying what's working.
Wow.
And I'd say that's helped me a lot in my career.
It's like you're collecting the skills like Infinity Stones, trying to get all of them and just maximize the gauntlet.
Thanks so.
Jay, I'd love to talk about your thesis and your take on the difference between S tier employees and A tier employees. You wrote that like basically the difference between an S tier and an A tier employee is the amount of responsibility you can give them, and then how little instruction that you can then give them is the difference. Could you talk a little bit more about this?
Yes. So that tweet was because I am now at a point in my career where I'm hiring people, which
Let's
sounds
go.
insane. But I recently hired two different people and put them on trials. And by the end of the first week, the first person finished all their onboarding tasks and did the next week's worth of work. And
Wow.
then the other person struggled to log in. And by the end of the week, I had to check in and say, hey, like, what's going on? Like, are you okay? And they're like, oh, I'm just still trying to log in. And right off the
Oh,
bat, like, it's pretty obvious which one I'm probably going to go with.
yeah.
And I think, like, working with Noah, I started writing Instagram captions for him. Like, I didn't start as his head of content. I started doing the tedious, boring tasks.
Love it.
And eventually, I slowly absorbed more and more responsibility. Instead of just writing the captions, I would say, hey, I wrote a caption and I created an Instagram post. Let's test this. And then I'd say, hey, I made a Twitter thread back when Twitter threads were a thing. Well, let's test this. And I slowly started to absorb more and more responsibility until eventually, when he's like, hey, I need a head of content, he thought of me. And so the biggest thing that I can uh, tell people, especially if they're early on in their career, is to find your and. And so this is one of the biggest
Mm.
things I learned at acquisition is I joined the media team and I knew a lot about organic content at the time, but I didn't know anything about paid ads and scaling. And so I said, you know, rather than saying, hey, can I get transferred from the media team to the marketing team? I put together a batch of ads and sent them to the director of marketing and
There
said,
we
hey,
go,
here, try
baby.
them for free. And so, like, promoting someone into a new responsibility or new task is inherently risky for a company. And so rather than waiting for a promotion, just do the work up front. Show them that you have the skill set so that when they do think of someone, they think of you.
Wow.
I
I love that.
I have always found, and I've wondered if it's just because I'm a little too ADD, but I'm always like oriented in this way. Maybe it's because I get bored of tasks too quickly, but I want to like do this thing. Okay, that's going well. Now let's like try something else, Otherwise I'm gonna go crazy. But this kind of thing to me, it's like a little measure of hunger.
Yeah.
It's like how much hunger, how much dog in is there in there that they just want to go gobble up something else. And I didn't have to tell them to do it. I didn't have to pitch it to them. I didn't have to beg them or plead them. They just started doing the thing because they got dog and hunger inside. I mean, does that resonate, Jay? Am I on the same page and wavelength with you? I think there's a lot to this.
Yeah, 100%. I think high agency people create their own opportunities. They don't wait for learning or responsibility to come to them. They go out and make it happen.
Well, Jay, we're talking about the new book here too. That is Work with the Best. Could you talk a little bit about, I want to talk about basically what it's like working with the best people. How do you filter who is getting into that orbit? Who is the best? And then who are you filtering out and basically saying like, that's not the best person I want to have in my orbit right now.
Yes, this is super exciting. I actually just got the author copy for my new book
Let's
in the
Let's
mail.
go. Let's
Let's
go.
go, baby.
So
Let's go,
uh,
Jay.
super excited. Uh, I think like, everyone always says like, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Mhm.
But no one actually tells you how. Like, how do you get on the radar of these people? How do you get their attention? How do you create value for them? And so, what I wanted to do was write a book that helped people go from outside to inside. And so, one of the things that I talk about in the book when identifying people you want to work with is what I call the four pillar framework. And so, to put this into perspective, about a year and a half ago, I was in college and I got the opportunity to work with Alex and Layla, but I was also running a marketing agency while in college. And so I had a ton of emotion,
Let's
like I
go.
don't want to drop out
Yes.
and miss out, being with friends, but I also don't want to disappoint Alex and Layla. And so I said, screw emotion. I'm just going to think about this from like a logical, quantitative standpoint. And so the four pillar framework were the four things that mattered to me the most in my career, which was learning. How much am I going to learn? Earning, how much are you going to make? And how much is this going to increase my capacity to make?
Mm.
Network, who am I going
Oh,
to meet at the company? And who am I going to meet because people came through the doors, like the business owners that came through the doors? And then story, how much is this opportunity going
oh.
to create future opportunities? And what I did was I ranked being in college and running an agency and joining acquisition.com out of 40 out of 10 for each of those four categories. And the acquisition.com category one, which is why I chose to go there. And so like when I'm talking with people about like, hey, who should I work with or how do I evaluate opportunities? I always say to them like, okay, well, what four things matter to you most in your
Yeah.
career? And then how can you make a logical decision based on that?
I love
I
this.
love that. I
Yeah.
do love that. And it's like, what's the better story? What's the better network opportunity than being with the Hormozis? I'm not sure there is, I'm not sure there is. Yeah, it's lore, Jay.
Yeah.
So I find this interesting. When I first heard like the topic of this book, like work with the best, I just figured it was like hiring the best people. That's what I
Mm.
figured it was. But it's totally the opposite. It's like I want whose sphere, whose realm do I want to get in, and how do I do that? Which I find fascinating, and I think you underlined here. Nobody does talk about that. Like, how do you do that? To me, it seems like a great sequel to the whole thesis of permissionless action. What makes a no-brainer for them, and how to build on this. I mean, tell me, just give us some clues here, Jay, about finding out who do you want to be with, and then how to get into their realm, which you've done several times in your career at this point.
Yeah, the thesis of the book is that the fastest way to get the life that you want is to help someone who's already living it. And
Oh,
so I fundamentally believe that you can get a lot of what you want out of life if you ask yourself these two questions consistently. Number one, what do I want? And number two, what inputs will increase the likelihood I get the output that I want?
yeah, yeah.
And so when you know those two questions, you can then reverse engineer the actions you need to take. So, for example, if I know that I want to be a successful author or entrepreneur, I can ask myself, well, does learning how to write and how to build a business from other authors and entrepreneurs increase the likelihood I get that output? Probably. Does
Yeah,
developing consistent writing habits and posting online increase the likelihood I get what I want? Probably. And so you can
probably.
start to filter every decision through that lens of what do I want and what inputs increase the likelihood I get what I want.
Jay, where do you come from? Like
Yeah,
where where
yes. This is it. I was
like
gonna ask the same thing. I was gonna ask the same
like
thing. No.
where like it's just like how do I hire like 12 J's all the time? Like it's just your framework that you're looking through the world is so leveled up compared to everyone else. I'm so curious how you would did you do any like private education or did you like self educate basically very early on to like basically level up your thought process and your the lens at which you see the world is completely unique. I think you probably know this at this point, right? Like it's completely unique compared to someone that's your age would be thinking about like, "Hey, how can I go party and like go hang out with this chick right now?" Like it's just so different.
And not even just your age, Jay. And a lot of people don't think this way. A lot of people
Yeah.
don't think this way.
Yeah.
And like when you're talking to me, like I can hear it's like Hormozi is back there somewhere, and then it's
Yeah.
like it's like coming through like a J filter. It's like
Yeah.
I feel like you and Hormozi are like you're like blood brothers with some ways back. I mean, it feels this way, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've stolen a lot of things, not just from Hormozi, but from the people I've learned in the past. Even Kobe Bryant, like when he says, "Hey, the likelihood that I get past a lot of my peers by working out 4 times a day instead of 2 is high. And so let's just go do that.
Let's go, Black Mamba.
Jay,
I love
hey,
that.
for the D2C founders or the e-commerce operators that are listening, if they want to do content like you are incredible at content. That's very obvious from this. You're an expert at content. What advice would you have in 2026 for that founder that is operating that direct to consumer e-commerce business on standing out when it is a very, it's a bit of a knife fight right now?
Yeah, I think you can apply that same lens of what do I want and what inputs increase the likelihood I get what I want to content. And
Mm.
so if we know that influence is your ability to change people's behaviors, then you can reverse engineer the things that you need to demonstrate to become more influential. And so, one of the things that I've learned from Hormozi is that influence comes from 3 places that, I call the PTL framework. It comes from power, trust, and likeness. And so power is when you show that you have what other people want. And so
Mhm.
power is relative. So, for example, if I was in a bar, a bartender has a lot of power over me because they control the flow of drinks. Once the
Mm.
bartender steps outside of the bar, they lose their power, right? And so this is why you see people with the cars and the mansions, whatever, stand out. Now, you can also demonstrate power in other ways than just that, but you want to demonstrate that you have either the skill set, network, audience, or resources that other people want. The second thing is trust, and so trust is belief with evidence. Belief without evidence is called faith. And
Yeah.
so trust is important because what you want to do is you want to increase the likelihood people listen to you, right? And so if I say, "Hey, you should drink more water," and you listen to that piece of advice and you implement it and you get a good result, then the likelihood you comply with another piece of advice is high. And this is why Martha Stewart is so influential because for decades, she gave women like step by step directions, recipes on how to
Yeah.
bake something good or cook something good. And then those women followed the directions, got compliments from their friends, families, and neighbors. And now they associated that value with Martha. And the last thing is likeness, which is how much do you look and sound like the other person, right? We listen to people who are in our in group. And so that can be both from physical attributes and also internal attributes. So what you look like, what you sound like, what you're wearing, and also what you believe, what you value. And so if you can demonstrate those 3 things in your content, power, trust, and likeness, over and over and over again, you will increase the likelihood you can influence people.
That's a great framework, Jay.
Jeez. Jay's cooking.
Jay,
Jay's absolutely cooking.
Jay, you're just packaging things so well. It's almost like you're an author, Jay. What I'll bring up here in the end, Jay, it seems like what you are doing in your career at this point. I mean, it
Yeah.
seems I'd love to know all the things that you're doing, but it seems like you have gone from like a service oriented, done for you kind of service to a more like productized, I am producing a thing that you can purchase and then, take away, educate yourself on. Talk to me about that transition and the why behind it. But I'd love to know about all the things you're doing, Jay. I have a sneaking feeling that there's even more than just the books that you have rolling off the line here.
Yeah, there's a lot that I've been working on behind the scenes, but I would say my number one focus has definitely been this book. This is, to me, it's the end of a chapter in my life, and so for the last 5 years, I spent most of my career trying to find the best in the world and get as close to them as possible.
Mhm.
And now we're about to enter a season where I now implement those learnings. How can we turn the stuff that I've learned into businesses and products that people can use and love? And so this book is one of them. I also just started a YouTube channel and my first video went out yesterday. And
Let's
so
go, baby.
that is super
Let's
exciting.
go.
And yeah, other than that, I have a lot of stuff cooking up soon that will all be revealed.
Let's go.
I'm looking to
That's
find
incredible.
you right
Yeah, we
now,
gotta push the YouTube out
Jay
as well.
Yang. One day ago, I see you. I see you on here, Jay. I'm subscribing right now, brother.
Let's go.
Incredible, man. Incredible. Well, let's see. We need to hit Jay. When is the book coming out? What's the launch
Yes.
date? How do people stay up to date? How can we make sure that we can all rally the troops here and push this thing up to #1 again, like you have
Again.
done before? Maybe we'll go from Amazon to New York Times this time. Who knows?
Let's go. Well, this book will officially be out September 30th, but you can
September
pre-order a
30th.
copy right now on Kickstarter. And I think the cool thing is the more copies you buy that you don't personally want, they all get donated to students. Like my goal is to get this book to as
Really?
many young people's hands as possible. And so that's why it's on Kickstarter. And to stay up to date, janginspires.com.
That's incredible.
JayInspires.com. Even we got the philanthropic angle here, Jay. I love it, man. I love
That's
it.
incredible.
Jay Yang Inspires everywhere on social. That's where we find you, right, Jay? Incredible, man. Golly, maybe I need to find a way to work with you is what I need to do, Jay. Incredible, man. We appreciate you making the time to join us. We're going to be looking forward to this book coming out. We'll cut this up and clip it and share it everywhere because everybody needs to pay attention and get in on what Jay's doing, the implementation of all the wisdom he has gleaned over the past few years. We appreciate you making the time to join us, brother. We look forward to having you back, man. Congratulations to you.
Let's go.
Thanks for having me on.
Let's